The Wellington family estate loomed before me as my driver pulled up to the iron gates. Marcus, our family butler for 20 years, buzzed us through with the usual formality. I smoothed my simple black Burberry dress, an understated piece that cost more than my sister's monthly shopping allowance. Not that any of them would recognize it. Miss Sophia, Marcus greeted me at the door, his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. He'd always been kind to me, even after I'd supposedly failed. The family expectations. They're gathering in the main dining room. The house smelled of Mother's favorite orchids and Chef Anton's signature beef Wellington, a dish he'd pointedly named after our family. Though the irony was lost on them, my heels clicked against the marble floors as I made my way through the mansion's east wing. I paused before the dining room's double doors, checking my phone one last time. Everything was in place. My SEO message confirmed. Final contracts prepared, waiting for your signal. Sophia, you're late. Mother's voice cut through my thoughts as I entered. She sat at her usual place, draped in Cartier jewelry and disappointment, and wearing the same dress as last time. Darling, if you're struggling, you could have asked. I manage, Mother. I took my seat, noting how they'd placed me at the far end, away from Victoria's place of honor near Father. Victoria swept in moments later, her entrance perfectly timed as always. Her Valentino dress probably cost as much as one of my smaller property acquisitions. Everyone's here. Perfect timing. Thomas and I just finished viewing the Penthouse again. It's absolutely divine. Thomas Morrison, her fiancé and the senator's son, followed behind her, his politician's smile firmly in place. He'd never liked me, especially after I'd declined his advances 3 years ago before he'd set his sights on Victoria. Well, Father stood commanding attention as he always did. Since everyone's here, we can make the announcement. He gestured to his assistant, who began distributing elegant leather folders. As you know, the Grande has been the crown jewel of our property portfolio for generations. With Victoria's upcoming marriage and her exemplary dedication to the family business, we've decided to make some changes in the property distribution. I watched Victoria's perfectly manicured hands clutch her folder, her diamond engagement ring catching the light. My phone vibrated silently in my lap. Victoria, Father continued, you and Thomas will receive the penthouse at the Grande. All 5,000 square feet of it, including the private roof garden and helicopter pad. It's time for the next generation to take their rightful place at the top. Victoria's squeal of delight echoed off the coffered ceilings. Daddy, it's perfect. The view of the city's skyline will be amazing for our cocktail parties. And Sophia, Father's tone cooled noticeably as he turned to me. We haven't forgotten you. Given your chosen career path, we thought you might appreciate something more modest. The folder he slid my way was significantly thinner. Inside lay the deed to what they called the garden apartment. A glorified basement unit with maintenance access and a view of the building's foundation. Enjoy your basement apartment. Victoria smirked, showing off her keys with a flourish. Don't worry, we'll hardly ever run into each other. You'll be using the service entrance after all. My phone buzzed again. This time, I allowed myself to look. Congratulations on acquiring Elite Towers. All 500 luxury penthouses now under your control. I calmly reached for the wine decanter, pouring myself a generous glass of Chateau Fight Rothschild, a vintage that cost more than my supposed new apartment's monthly rent. Sophia, Mother chided, that wine is for celebrating Victoria's news. Perhaps the house white would be more appropriate for your portion of the table. Oh, I think this is perfectly appropriate, I murmured, taking a slow sip. After all, we're celebrating new ownership today, aren't we? Thomas frowned. Speaking of ownership, I heard rumors that the Grande was being acquired by some new development group, Elite Towers or something similar. Probably some nouveau retech upstart. Victoria waved dismissively. Daddy assured us our penthouse deed is secure regardless of who buys the building. Father nodded confidently. I have my best people looking into this Elite Towers group. Whoever they are, they'll learn to respect the Wellington name. My phone lit up with another message. Access codes ready for reset. Contractor team standing by for penthouse renovation plans. Awaiting your command, Sophia. Father's voice sharpened. It's rude to check your phone at dinner. Whatever customer service crisis you're handling can wait. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, fighting back a smile. Of course, father. Though I should warn you, sometimes the biggest changes happen while you're busy looking down on people. What's that supposed to mean? Victoria demanded, her perfectly plucked eyebrows drawing together. I stood smoothing my dress. Just that views can change very quickly, especially from the penthouse. The next morning dawned clear and crisp over the city skyline, viewed perfectly from my private office on the 60th floor of Aurora Tower. I'd been here since 5 a.m. watching the sun rise over my growing empire while finalizing the day's preparations. My CFO, James Chin, entered with a stack of reports. The numbers from the Elite Towers acquisition are even better than projected. The Grande alone is worth triple what we paid thanks to your family undervaluing it. Speaking of family, my executive assistant Rachel interrupted, gliding in with her signature tablet. Your sister has been busy this morning. She scheduled interior designers, contractors, and even a FUNA consultant for the penthouse. Total estimated renovation budget $2.3 million. I smiled, rotating my computer screen to show them Victoria's Pinterest board titled Perfect Penthouse. Let her plan. It'll make this morning more interesting. Your father's been active, too, James added, pulling up some emails. He's tried contacting Elite Towers board members through 7 different channels, even offered to play golf with our shell company's fictional CEO. Rachel checked her watch. The security system reset is scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. Your family typically arrives at the Grande around 9:30 for their weekly property inspection. Should I move up the board meeting? No. I settled into my chair, adjusting my Van Cleef and Arpels necklace. Another quiet investment they'd never noticed. Let's keep the schedule. I want them to experience the full effect. My phone lit up with Victoria's text. Having caviar breakfast and my penthouse. Hope your basement isn't too damp this morning. Face blowing a kiss. Rachel's tablet chimed. Mr. Wellington just called an emergency family meeting at the Grande. Apparently, he's heard rumors about Elite Towers' plans for aggressive renovations and wants to establish the family's authority. Perfect timing. I stood smoothing my white Tom Ford suit. Rachel, ensure the board members are ready. James, prepare the acquisition presentation. It's time to remind everyone who really holds the keys to this city. At precisely 9 a.m., every electronic lock in the Grande reset. Every security code changed. Every private elevator stopped responding to resident commands. The Wellington family's override codes, used for generations to maintain their control, disappeared from the system. Security cameras showed Victoria arriving first, pulling up in her red Ferrari, arms full of designer bags, probably containing penthouse decor samples. Her key card failed. Her backup key failed. Her face darkened as the doorman, newly employed by Elite Towers, politely informed her that her access had been revoked. Father arrived minutes later in his Bentley, looking thunderous. Mother's Rolls-Royce pulled up shortly after, followed by a parade of family lawyers and property managers. The lobby of the Grande quickly filled with angry Wellingtons and their entourage. Ms. Walker, Rachel appeared at my office door. The board members are assembled and your family. She allowed herself a small smile, is becoming quite vocal in the lobby. I gathered my materials, including a special folder containing the Grand's original deed purchased from under my family's nose through a series of shell companies they'd been too arrogant to investigate. Your sister just tried to call the mayor, James reported, falling into step beside me as we headed to the conference room. Apparently, she's demanding an investigation into Elite Towers for harassment of established property owners. The conference room doors opened to reveal the city's most powerful real estate mogul, men and women who'd once dismissed me as readily as my family had. Now they stood respectfully as I entered. Ladies and gentlemen, I began taking my place at the head of the table. Thank you for coming. Before we discuss the Elite Towers acquisition in detail, I believe we'll be having some unexpected guests. Right on cue, Rachel's tablet lit up. Your father just strong-armed his way past security. They're on their way up now. Victoria is threatening to call Page 6 about corporate thugs stealing her penthouse. I pulled up the lobby security feed on the main screen, letting the board watch the unfolding drama. I should mention, I addressed the room that today's meeting might include a brief family reunion. I trust everyone will find it educational. The elevator's ascent was tracked by blinking lights on the security panel. In the lobby feed, Mother was having what appeared to be a dramatic fainting spell while Victoria screamed into her phone about birthright and family legacy. Rachel, I turned to my assistant. Please ensure the Wellington family is escorted directly to this conference room when they arrive. I believe it's time they learned exactly who runs Elite Towers. I paused, allowing myself a small smile, and who really owns the penthouse. The elevator timed its arrival on our floor. Showtime. The boardroom doors crashed open with enough force to rattle the crystal water glasses. Victoria stormed in first, her labuttons leaving angry marks on the marble floor, followed by our parents and their longtime attorney, Harrison Phillips. This is outrageous. Father's voice boomed across the room. I demand to speak with the Co of Elite. His words died as his eyes found me at the head of the table. Sophia. Victoria's perfectly contoured face twisted in confusion. What are you doing here in the chairman's seat? Mother's hand flew to her throat, clutching her pearls. Darling, this is hardly the time for one of your administrative positions. Actually, I gestured to the nameplate in front of me. I believe you wanted to speak with the CEO of Elite Towers, Sophia Walker, Chief Executive Officer and majority shareholder. I turned to the board members. Please excuse the interruption. My family has a flair for dramatic entrances. This is absurd, Father sputtered, his face turning an interesting shade of purple. You work in investment consulting in a basement office. Investment consulting? I clicked a button bringing up our corporate structure on the wall screen. Aurora Capital Management, parent company of Elite Towers, manages over $50 billion in real estate assets. That basement office was actually the ground floor of my first acquired property. I smiled, though I let you believe what you wanted. Harrison Phillips adjusted his glasses, examining the documents spread before him. George, he addressed our father, his voice grave. These acquisition papers are ironclad. The shell company's the property transfers. She's been building this for years. But the penthouse. Victoria's voice rose to a shriek. Daddy gave me the penthouse. We're having our engagement party there next week. About that. I pulled up the renovation plans. The penthouse is being converted into our corporate entertainment venue, though I'm sure our leasing office can find you something more appropriate for your actual budget. Mother sank into a chair, her arm scarf askew. All this time, while we thought you were struggling, while you were mocking my career choices, I finished. As mother. Every dinner where you suggested I marry for money. Every Christmas where Victoria flaunted her success. Every time Father insisted I wasn't cut out for real estate, I was building this. The Wellington name, Father began, means nothing without the Wellington properties. I cut in smoothly, which now belong to Elite Towers. All 500 luxury buildings, including the Grande, its penthouse, and yes, that basement apartment you so generously offered me. Victoria's designer bag slipped from her fingers. But Thomas, his father, the senator. Ah, yes. Senator Morrison. I pulled up another document. He's quite interested in our new development project. Prime location. Excellent tax benefits, though he might be less enthusiastic about his son's planned residence in a building he no longer controls. You can't do this to your own family, Mother whispered. Family? The word tasted bitter. Was it family when you made me use service entrances? When you seated me at the children's table at charity galas? When you dismissed every achievement because it wasn't handed to me? I stood straightening my jacket. Mr. Chin, please continue the presentation. Ms. Rodriguez, ensure our security team assists the Wellingtons with vacating the penthouse. They have until Friday. Friday. Victoria collapsed into a chair. But my things, my plans are no longer relevant. I pressed the intercom. Rachel, please help my family schedule appointments with our leasing office. Perhaps something in our mid-range properties. With actual windows this time, Rachel's voice carried just the right hint of irony. Father stepped forward, his businessman mask finally settling into place. Name your price. Everyone has one. You taught me that, didn't you? I smiled along with never show weakness and always control the high ground. Lessons I learned very well, just not the way you intended. I gathered my papers as the board members watched with barely concealed fascination. Oh, and Victoria, those renovation plans you made. I held up her Pinterest mood board. They're lovely. I might use some of them when we remodel the penthouse for corporate use. You've made your point, Mother stood, attempting dignity. Surely we can discuss this as a family. Of course. I checked my watch. Rachel will schedule something. I have another acquisition meeting now. A small tech company father said would never succeed. I headed for the door then paused. By the way, Mother, I'm chairing the hospital charity gala next month. I trust you'll update the seating arrangements accordingly. As the doors closed behind me, I heard Victoria burst into tears and Mother's attempted consolations. Rachel fell into step beside me, tablet ready. Your next meeting is in 15 minutes, she reported. Would you like me to have their things moved out today? I smiled, thinking of all those family dinners where I'd sat quietly building my empire in secret. No rush. Let them have until Friday to process. After all, I stepped into my private elevator. We Wellingtons understand the importance of a graceful exit and the penthouse renovation. Schedule it for next week. The doors closed smoothly. I think I'll use it as my private office. The view of their old mansion is particularly good from up.